He didn't say it out loud at first. He just sat there, quiet, looking down at his hands. 68 years old, a former firefighter, strong shoulders, calloused palms, and a presence that once filled every room he entered. But that day in my office, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Doc, I still love her, but I feel like my body has forgotten how to show it." He wasn't talking about pain, not the kind you find in medical charts. He was talking about something more personal, more private, the quiet erosion of his confidence, the slow disappearance of the man he used to be. And here's the truth, most men never say out loud, because society has trained them not to. When erections weaken, when intimacy becomes unpredictable or fades altogether, it doesn't just affect the bedroom. It affects the way a man walks, speaks, carries himself. It changes how he feels in his own skin. If you're over 60 and you've noticed things have changed, maybe it's harder to stay firm. Maybe you've lost that sense of urgency, that fire. Maybe you've started avoiding certain moments, making excuses, telling yourself it's just part of aging. You're not alone. But here's what I need you to hear, loud and clear. It's not your fault. And more importantly, it's not over. Most men believe they need prescriptions, gadgets, or expensive treatments to feel alive again. But the real story? It starts in a much simpler place. Not in a clinic, not in a pharmacy, but in your kitchen. Because what if I told you there is one single food, one tiny, powerful, overlooked nut that can help restore blood flow, support testosterone, reduce hidden inflammation, and quietly begin to rebuild the very foundation of your masculinity? And no, I'm not talking about a fad, a supplement, or some exotic ingredient from halfway across the world. I'm talking about a nut that's sitting quietly in most grocery stores, ignored by the very men who need it most. A nut backed by clinical studies, proven to affect nitric oxide levels, blood vessel health, and hormone production. This nut isn't hype, it's science. And it might be the easiest daily habit you've never considered, one that could change how you feel about your energy, your performance, and your presence. In today's video, I'll show you exactly what it is, how it works inside your body, and why eating just one or two of these each day could make the difference between fading function and powerful recovery. No pressure, no side effects, no shame. Just one small habit, done daily, backed by biology. So if you felt like something's slipping, if you've noticed you're not quite the man you used to be, stick with me. Because the answer you've been searching for might be smaller, simpler, and more effective than you ever imagined. Let's begin. My name is Dr. Lily Anderson. I'm a board-certified nutritionist and men's health specialist, and for the past 22 years, I've dedicated my work to one thing: helping men over 60 reclaim their vitality in a way that's natural, realistic, and grounded in science. You see, I've sat across from thousands of men who thought their best days were behind them, men who had quietly stopped trying, who blamed their age, their bodies, even themselves. And every time I heard the same question asked in different ways: is this it? My answer has always been the same. No, this is not the end. You haven't run out of options. You haven't run out of time. Your body still knows how to heal. You simply need to give it the right tools. The problem is, most men are never told what those tools actually are. They're handed a prescription or a quick fix. Or worse, they're told to just accept the decline and move on. That's where I come in. I work differently. I don't believe in one-size-fits-all. I don't believe in Band-Aids. I believe in restoring your foundation, your circulation, your hormones, your strength, starting from the inside out. And today, I'm going to walk you through one of the most surprising and overlooked tools I've found. A small but mighty food that's been sitting quietly on grocery store shelves for decades. One that clinical science shows can support testosterone levels, improve blood flow, and reignite your performance in the most personal areas of life. We'll look at how it works, why it works, and what makes it especially effective for men over 60. I'll also share a real-life story of one of my patients who thought he was too far gone, until this simple habit helped him turn everything around. No hype, no judgment, just clear, compassionate guidance built on real science and real stories. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why this one nut, when used consistently, might be the quiet key to unlocking the energy, confidence, and connection you thought had slipped away for good. Let's take a closer look. If I had to choose just one food for men over 60, one natural, affordable, and effective tool to help reignite testosterone, rebuild confidence, and restore vitality, it would be this: the Brazil nut. It may not look like much. In fact, most people walk right past it in the grocery store. It doesn't come in a fancy package. It's not labeled superfood. But hidden inside this large, smooth, crescent-shaped nut is one of the most powerful nutrients most men are silently missing. That nutrient is selenium, and chances are, if you're a man over 60, you're not getting enough of it. Selenium is a trace mineral. That means your body only needs a small amount. But that small amount is absolutely critical, especially for men. Why? Because selenium is a direct fuel source for your testosterone-producing glands. Without it, your ability to create, convert, and maintain healthy hormone levels quietly begins to drop. And that drop doesn't just affect your lab numbers, it affects how you feel as a man. I'm talking about that spark in your chest when you wake up. The physical desire that seems to fade for no clear reason. The emotional confidence that starts to feel out of reach, the slow loss of interest in things that once lit you up. What I see over and over in my practice is this: men who aren't broken, they're simply undernourished. Brazil nuts change that, just one or two. Brazil nuts per day can provide up to 100% of your daily selenium needs. And more importantly, they do it in a form your body knows exactly how to absorb and use. Let's talk about what happens inside your body when you eat a Brazil nut. First, selenium goes straight to work in the testes, where testosterone is produced. It supports the function of enzymes that help create this hormone and protects the Leydig cells, which are responsible for making it. These cells are highly sensitive to oxidative stress, something that increases with age. Selenium acts like a bodyguard, neutralizing that stress so your cells can do their job. Second, selenium supports the thyroid gland, which regulates metabolism and energy. An underperforming thyroid can lead to fatigue, low libido, and weight gain, all of which further suppress testosterone. By keeping your thyroid stable, selenium keeps your energy steady and your hormone balance more resilient. And third, selenium is a powerful antioxidant. It reduces inflammation in the body, protects blood vessels, and supports sperm quality and fertility. Even if children aren't on your mind anymore, reproductive health is deeply tied to sexual function and overall vitality. When the internal system is clean, responsive, and well-fed, everything works better. But here's what I love most about the Brazil nut. It doesn't work like a drug. There's no spike, no crash, no dependence. It works in the background slowly and steadily, helping your body remember what it was designed to do. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If a little is good, wouldn't more be better? That's the one caution I need every man to hear clearly. Brazil nuts are incredibly rich in selenium, and while that's a good thing, it also means you only need a very small amount to see the benefit. For most men, just 1 to 2 Brazil nuts per day is the perfect dose. More than that, especially over long periods, can actually have the opposite effect. Too much selenium may cause fatigue, brittle nails, and hormone imbalances. So don't treat this like a snack you eat by the handful. Treat it like a tool, a precision dose. Here's how I recommend using it. First, choose raw, unsalted Brazil nuts. Store them in a cool, dry place or refrigerate them to preserve the natural oils. Each morning with breakfast, eat just 1 or 2 nuts. You can chew them slowly on their own or chop and sprinkle them into oatmeal or yogurt. What matters is consistency, and the best time to eat them? Morning. Your testosterone follows a daily rhythm, highest in the early hours, tapering off through the day. Giving your body selenium early helps support that natural rhythm, keeping you energized and balanced throughout. Now, Brazil nuts don't work overnight. This isn't magic. But most of my patients begin noticing shifts in their energy, mood, and physical response within 2 to 4 weeks. One man described it perfectly. He said, "I didn't feel like I was 25 again, but I felt like myself again." That's the goal. Not to chase youth, but to reclaim function. And what I find remarkable is that something so small, so humble, and so easy to overlook could carry such a powerful key to a man's vitality. It's not flashy. It's not trendy. It's simply effective. I've had patients spend thousands of dollars on supplements, treatments, and fancy tests, only to come back and tell me that the biggest difference they noticed came from this one simple habit. One nut. Once a day. And that's the kind of change I stand behind. Because when you give your body what it's missing, not with force, not with chemicals, but with nourishment, it remembers, it restores, and it responds. So now that you know the what, the why, and the how, the only question left is, are you ready to begin? Because the truth is, healing doesn't always begin in a hospital. Sometimes it begins with a decision you make at your kitchen table. Richard was 67 when he first walked into my clinic. He was the kind of man who didn't say much, the kind who'd spent his life building things with his hands, showing love through action, not words. But that day, he sat with a heaviness on his shoulders that had nothing to do with age and everything to do with what he felt slipping away. "I just don't feel like me anymore," he said. "I'm tired all the time. I've stopped initiating anything with my wife. It's not because I don't love her. I just don't want to face the embarrassment of not being able to follow through." He paused, eyes on the floor. And honestly, I've started to avoid mirrors. That moment stayed with me, not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't have to say. I could feel the silent frustration, the shame, the isolation that so many men carry when this part of their life begins to fade. Richard wasn't unhealthy. His lab work was mostly normal. He wasn't on dozens of medications. But he was deeply depleted, physically and emotionally. His energy was low, his mood flat, his sleep restless, and his intimate life was more memory than reality. He'd already tried one of the common medications for performance, but it left him with headaches and no improvement. "It's like my body doesn't even want help anymore," he told me. So we went back to the foundation. I asked him a simple question. What if your body isn't broken, just undernourished? He looked skeptical, but curious. So I explained how certain trace minerals, especially selenium, play a critical role in testosterone production and blood vessel health. I told him about the Brazil nut, one nut, once a day, no pills, no prescriptions, just a new rhythm. He nodded slowly. "I can do that," he said. That was on a Tuesday. 3 weeks later, Richard returned. He walked in with a small smile. Nothing flashy, but different. He sat down and said, "I don't want to get ahead of myself, but something's shifted." His energy was better. He had started waking up earlier, feeling more refreshed. His wife had noticed too, subtle things. The way he stood up straighter, the way he reached for her hand again, the quiet confidence that had begun to return. By week 6, Richard reported something he hadn't felt in years. Spontaneous arousal. Not from pressure, not from trying, just natural, unexpected, alive. He said, "It wasn't just about sex. It was about feeling like myself again, like something inside me had clicked back on." I asked him what had changed the most, and he answered without hesitation, "Hope." That's the part people don't talk about enough, the emotional cost of slow decline, and the emotional gift of even a small, honest recovery. Richard didn't need a miracle. He needed momentum. He needed a win. And for him, that win came from something simple, something quiet, something he could control. One Brazil nut every morning. That was his turning point. I've seen this happen many times. And while the journey is different for every man, the pattern is clear. When you nourish the root, the rest begins to grow again. And sometimes that starts with a single step. Let's slow things down for a moment. You've heard how one simple Brazil nut can begin to restore strength, energy, and confidence. But let's talk about why. Not just what it does, but how it works inside your body, especially after 60. Because understanding this isn't just about curiosity. It's about reclaiming ownership over your own health. Here's the simplest truth most men never hear. Your testosterone didn't vanish because of your age. It faded because your body slowly lost the raw materials it needs to make it. Think of testosterone like a fire in the center of your body. When you're young, that fire burns strong with very little effort. But as time passes, the fire doesn't just go out. It runs low on fuel. Your job isn't to relight it from scratch. Your job is to feed it again. And the most overlooked fuel for that fire? Selenium. Selenium is a mineral, a trace one. That means your body only needs a small amount, but it's absolutely vital, especially for men. Selenium acts like a spark plug in the engine of testosterone production. Without it, the engine still exists, but it stalls, it misfires, it struggles to ignite, and eventually it stops running the way it was designed to. Let me explain. Inside your body, testosterone is made in the testes, specifically in cells called Leydig cells. These cells are like tiny hormone factories, but they're delicate. Over time, they become damaged by oxidative stress, inflammation, and poor nutrition. Selenium is what protects those cells. It acts as a shield, reducing stress, calming inflammation, and helping those cells function like they used to. And that's not all. Selenium also plays a central role in the thyroid gland, which sits in your neck but controls energy throughout your entire body. The thyroid regulates metabolism, mood, and even sexual desire. If your thyroid slows down, you feel tired, heavy, unmotivated. And guess what? Your testosterone suffers too. Selenium helps your thyroid stay in balance. It supports the production of key hormones that keep your metabolism sharp and your mood stable. Still with me? Good. Because there's one more piece of the puzzle. Blood flow. Testosterone is only part of the story. The other half is circulation. Erections, real, strong, consistent erections, depend on one thing: how well blood moves through your arteries and into the pelvic region. As we age, blood vessels naturally become less flexible. The inner lining of the arteries, called the endothelium, doesn't respond as well as it used to. Nitric oxide, the gas that tells your vessels to open up, becomes harder to produce. That's where selenium plays its final role. It boosts levels of something called glutathione peroxidase, a powerful antioxidant enzyme that protects the endothelium from damage. It also supports nitric oxide production, helping your blood vessels relax, expand, and deliver blood where it's needed most. So let's step back and connect the dots. When you eat one Brazil nut per day, here's what you're really doing. You're giving your body the fuel to produce testosterone again. You're supporting your thyroid for stable energy and metabolism. You're protecting your blood vessels for better circulation and stronger response. You're nourishing the internal systems that control desire, strength, and performance. All of that from a single nut. It sounds almost too simple. But that's the power of biology. When the right piece falls into place, the whole system begins to work better. This is why I don't call Brazil nuts a cure. They're not a magic bullet, they're a building block. A missing link your body may have gone without for years. And when you restore it, gently, daily, without force, you give your body permission to remember how to be strong again. Now, one last thought. You might be thinking, but I've had low energy for years. My desire is gone. It's too late. Let me be clear. Your body doesn't forget how to be vital. It just needs the right support. You don't need perfect hormone levels overnight. You need progress, movement, signs of return. And those signs begin when you feed the system, not with fear or frustration, but with nourishment. This is what the science tells us. And this is what I've seen again and again in real life. So if you've ever wondered what's really going on under the surface, why your strength faded, why your energy dipped, why intimacy started feeling distant, now you know. It wasn't age, it was depletion. And now you know what to do about it. I've worked with men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s. Some of them came to me full of questions, ready to try something new. Others walked in slowly, shoulders heavy, not just from age, but from disappointment. They had tried diets. They had tried pills. Some had given up. Some had quietly accepted that their best days were behind them. But here's what I've learned. It doesn't take a massive overhaul to begin again. It doesn't take discipline, perfection, or a gym membership. It takes one thing, a small, steady decision. For some, that decision was to take a walk each morning. For others, it was to turn off the TV and sleep an hour earlier. And for many of my patients, the very first change they made was one Brazil nut each morning. That's it. A quiet moment in the kitchen. One small act of self-care. One message to the body. I haven't given up on you. What follows is rarely dramatic. It's not Hollywood, but it is powerful. A man who wakes up with more clarity. Another who starts to notice warmth in his hands again. A shift in posture, a lightness in his chest, a sudden sense of, I want to move today. And with time, that feeling begins to spread into energy, into focus, into intimacy, into how he sees himself again. Because when you restore one part of the body, others begin to follow. That's how healing works, not through force, but through invitation. And it always begins with something small. One of my patients, Harold, said it best. He was 72 when we started working together. His energy was low, and he'd convinced himself that his relationship was just meant to be quiet now. But I encouraged him, try just one thing, not everything, just one. He chose the Brazil nut. 6 weeks later, he sat across from me, not beaming, not boasting, but solid, calm. He looked me in the eye and said, I feel like I showed up to my own life again. That's the kind of strength I'm talking about, not bravado, not trying to be 25 again, but showing up, fully, present, energized, connected. So if you're watching this and you've been wondering, where do I start? Start there. Don't wait until Monday. Don't wait until you have everything perfect. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start with one Brazil nut tomorrow morning. That's it. Because action is what turns fear into progress. And momentum, even in its smallest form, is how you take your power back. You are not too old. You are not too far gone. And you are not done becoming the man you're meant to be. You just haven't been given the right starting point. Until now. So go gently, go steadily, go consistently, but most importantly, go. If something in this video made you pause, even for just a moment, then maybe it's because part of you knows it's time. Not for another promise, not for another shortcut, but for something real, something simple, something you can actually do. And maybe, just maybe, it starts with this. One Brazil nut. A small habit that says, I'm not giving up on myself. And if you're ready to try, type day 1 in the comments. Not to impress anyone, not to prove anything, but to mark the moment you began showing up again for your health, for your energy, for your relationships, for you. And if you've already been doing this, if you've seen even the smallest shift, I invite you to share that too. Your story could be the reason another man, watching quietly from the sidelines, finally takes his first step. I read every comment, and this space, this community, is not here to judge. We're here to walk alongside each other, Because getting older doesn't mean growing weaker. It means growing wiser. It means learning how to care for the body you've lived in, the heart you carry, and the strength that never truly left you. Share this video with someone who might need it. A brother, a friend, a partner, someone who's been quiet about their struggle, but whose silence holds a question. Is there still hope? Let them know the answer is yes. And if there's a question you still carry, or a topic you want me to explore in the next video, drop it below. I want to know what matters to you, what you're facing, what you wish someone would finally explain without judgment. Because this is where your questions meet real answers. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being present. Each day, each choice, each quiet act of care. You have more power than you think. And the next chapter of your health story can begin with something as small as a nut and as big as a decision. Thank you for showing up today, for yourself, for your future, and for the life that still waits ahead. We'll see you in the next video.